I was in Wuthering first beta test for 2 weeks, and it was quite alright, but certainly there were a bunch of things they could improve, bunch of things they could have added, and bunch of things that I think they need to remove. So today I'm going to talk about my impression, honest thoughts about the game, and let you guys know when we should expect the game to be released. But before we start the video, there will be a lot of comparisons to make. Certainly everything that I'm going to say is subjective to my opinion, but I just want to tell you guys that I have no intention to trash talk about Wuthering Waves, or even make war between two fans of the game. In here, I will say everything out loud because I want to genuinely improve the game. I played Genshin Impact for a while before, and always have been playing punishinggrayraven, their previous game up until now. Obviously, I will make a comparison between the game that I have been playing before. So before I start with the bad part, I would like to start with the best aspect of the game first. I think you guys probably know already that Kuro's best signature as always is their combat and sound design, as you can see in their previous game punishinggrayraven. With perfect dodge, fast-paced combo, parry, everything seems to be the same mechanics that they try to bring from their previous game. However, even in combat, there were some aspects they still need to improve, and the problem lies not within our playable characters, but some of the enemy's design. Every bosses feels like following the same formula of movesets, which is all about the consecutive parry, downtime, parry and then downtime again. And on top of it, the downtime takes 1000 years enough for you to spam all of your character's available skills. This however didn't happen in PGR, as every boss doesn't always try to spam parry towards you, and certain bosses even has a special mechanics, a notable one like the twins or the Hamlet boss. So my suggestion about this, they should reduce the downtime a bit more and adding more mechanics to the boss rather than just spamming parry for all the bosses. Another good thing about Kuro's game is their sound design. They absolutely nail it with the sound effects, whether it's about the combat or the details of the environment. In my previous review video, I said that some CN players felt like the story kinda boring, like the earlier chapters for PGR. So how do I feel about that after I played the beta by myself? Well, the answer is, yes, it was boring as well for me. Some people argue that maybe it's because there is no voice acting yet for the beta, but bunch of gacha games before doesn't even have any voice acting, and I still read the whole story the same way I did in PGR. So the problem is not within the voice acting for me. There are a bunch of mistranslation, typos, many technical terms. Reading it confused the hell out of me. Most of the story feels like a chore, where Jian keeps asking us to move from point A to point B, killing the bosses without giving us any confusing reason as for why he cannot do that by himself or any other neck rangers available. The whole plot is basically investigate something, and then activate the first generator out of the 3 generators, etc, etc. In my opinion, they totally need to rewatch so many parts of the story, because it doesn't feel engaging enough, or give us any important reason as for why we need to read all of this. Other than that, the cinematic looks great, character story or the interlude here actually has the potential to be a good story. It's kinda weird that it is the same thing that happens in PGR, where the character's interlude actually more interesting to read than the main story. The in-game cutscene still looks awkward, but I let it slide because it's not a big deal for the first beta. I will say this out loud at the start, and yes, in my opinion, I think it's not as hard as PGR. It's far easier to catch the parry window, but it is slightly harder to dodge because the wet window was kinda smaller. So it's quite a balance in Wuthering Waves, but the main issue is it's not about catching parry or doing a perfect dodge. The what boss's difficulty feels right, but the enemy in the open world deals almost no damage. They cannot even one-shot you with 60 level gap and no equipment characters. The Spiral Beast ornament also barely do any damage, to the point that it is very possible for you to solve the thing without any healer, if you have the right equipment to do the damage in time. So as I said before, I agree that they don't need to make the whole game harder, but I still think that it will make more sense for level 60 enemies to one-shot a level 1 character with no equipment. So again, I'm not trying to trash talk Wuthering Waves here. I will give you my reason as for why some people, or even the big PGR player himself, even think that the game resembles Genshin too much. There were so many aspects that they took from Genshin for Wuthering Waves first beta. I will just skip the gacha system. For example, we have the commission system. We need to clear 4 daily missions every day to get XP and gacha currency. The same thing like Genshin. How do we ascend all characters to the next level cap? Well, in Genshin we need to fight against world bosses like the Flower boss or the Cube Hypostasis. In Wuthering Waves, we do the exact same thing, with world bosses like Crownless or Thunder Squama for example. Then, how do we level up our character skill? In Genshin we need to farm in domains or a single room dungeon that gives different materials each day. In Wuthering Waves, it is the exact same thing. Different days, different materials, and we need to memorize each material for each day. How do we farm for weapon materials? Again, the same thing like Genshin, farm in domains. So as you can see, almost everything the game has to offer feels like Genshin, except for the artifacts. So the whole comment about the Genshin copy are not an entirely baseless opinion. However, a heads up for you guys, it's been confirmed by the Japanese staffs that their main focus about the first beta is not about the farming system. They said that for the first beta, they are going to test for the open world aspect, combat, and sound system of the game. So it is very likely that most of the things that you have seen in here is just a temporary template to fill things out. Other than the whole drama about Genshin copy, there were other small issues in the game, but it's not really game breaking. Some dialogues were still unfinished, you cannot adjust camera sensitivity, lock on sometimes didn't lock on, and many things more. So when should we expect the game to get released? Most likely not this year. The fastest you can get probably next year, after the second or third CBT, because as you can see, there are a lot of things they need to improve, and it's far from ready to release yet. But for a 6-month progress after the technical test, I would say that they did really well for the first beta, regardless of how many unfinished things in the game, because they really improved the graphics, characters, and combat design by a huge margin. So that's all about the video. Subscribe for more Wuthering Waves video, and I'll see you guys next time.